The movie starts in Paris, in the year 1943. We see Laura Barlow take in a guest's hat and coat, and bring them inside the booth for storage. As she fixes the garments, an attractive woman approaches her and takes her hand. The woman's name is Eva, Laura's acquaintance. Laura hugs her, relieved to see a familiar face. Eva tells Laura that she initially thought she had gone back to America, but she is also relieved to see her there. She also says Servier has been looking for her. Laura responds that she has always been here. Eva admits she used to think of her as a schemer, a very calculating individual who was drawn to Corbin and power. Then, she apologizes, but Laura waves it off. She acknowledges that she may come off as that kind of person to those who don't know her. She may seem harsh at first, but she's also an emotional person, if only one takes the time to get to know her more. She sadly says she wants to be loved too. Their conversation turns to the party they both attended before. It seems like it happened at a time when they were both easygoing, not knowing the tragedies that lay ahead. At this point, we see a flashback to a few years earlier. Laura is traveling with her younger sister Kate. They are both Americans, but they have traveled to Europe to seek more opportunities. They make themselves comfortable in the third-class carriage of the train speeding towards Paris. Laura is ready to go to sleep, but Kate asks a lot of questions as she looks up at the sky. The deep dark blue sky is littered with stars, as if they are diamonds laid on soft velvet. Kate wonders about the relatives they left at home. Laura assures her they will be okay, and that they will be home soon. The home, as it turns out, is at a cabaret. Laura and Kate are there to perform and entertain customers, who all look like they hail from the upper class of society. Their agent, Junker, introduces them to the audience as renowned spiritual media from America, and they're here to give them a seance of a lifetime. Behind the curtains, Laura comforts the nervous Kate. She shows her a lewd sketch on her palm, which makes Kate giggle. When it's finally time, they both become serious. Laura looks regal, enchanting, and a bit intimidating as she gives a speech about contacting the deceased. She compares the young nation of America to Europe, which has hundreds of thousands of years of history, and definitely has more deceased people, even right under the very ground they are on. She entices the audience with the prospect of what they can say to their late relatives. Laura spread her hands and asks at large if anyone was listening to her. Some of the audience members look interested, some look skeptical, and others are already feeling afraid. Then, she extends her hand to a middle-aged lady, who immediately shakes her head. She thinks it's scary to participate, but after Laura's urging, the lady sits across Kate on the stage. Laura guides the lady to focus on Kate, while the latter starts to channel a spirit possibly related to the lady. A few minutes later, Kate's eyes roll backward, and then, in a soft voice, she calls the woman, Mother. The lady gasps to hear her late son's voice again. After the seance, the audience claps for Laura and asks if they can book her for a private seance. She simply tells them to approach Junker for any inquiries. She walks towards her agent, who's talking to a businessman named Kitching. At first, Laura thinks the man is interested in talking about spiritualism, but then he puts his arm around her waist. To distract him, she fetches her sister Kate, who is enjoying her time inside a small aviary. Laura ignores the man who has been staring intently at them. Later, Junker gives her the book of appointments. Laura is dismayed by the fact that only a few of the guests have requested a private seance, not even Kitching. However, a small white calling card falls from the notebook. Written on it is the name A. Corbin and an address. The next day, the sisters make their way to the said place. Laura finds out that the man she ignored last night is the one who left the calling card, Andre Corbin. His house boasts the riches only a wealthy Parisian can afford. He explains that he likes collecting knickknacks, which are displayed all over his house. Kate comments on how good his English is, while Laura remarks that his accent differs from typical French. Corbin reveals that he wasn't born in Paris. Laura leaves him at that and gestures that they can start the seance. She tells Corbin to bring a fourth chair since evoking a spirit is like inviting a guest to join them. So Corbin calls his butler to put a chair in the empty space. And then, the seance begins. Kate has cracked her knuckles to get ready, and then she starts to breathe heavily. Corbin also starts acting weird. First, he leans towards the empty chair, and then he leans backward, tilting his head too much. One may expect him to topple over. Laura notices that he seems to be choking, so she immediately wakes him up from his trance. When he does, there are tears running down his cheeks. He looks shaken, but amazed at the experience. He thanks the sisters for their service and pays them a hefty amount of money. When Corbin is alone in his room, he recollects what has happened during the seance. The sisters did not see him, but there was a man who came down the stairs and sat in the empty chair. That same man also grabbed Corbin's throat and choked him. Corbin is still thinking about the seance the next day, while he is attending the board meeting with the investors in his film studio company. Their angry shouting and remonstrations bring him back to reality. The investors want to get their share of the company's profit. As the head of the board, Corbin frankly tells them that it's not possible due to the current economic crisis in the country. He himself is also disappointed with the lack of innovation in French films. He cites that American cinema is already years ahead, while they're still focusing on their money spent. Corbin promises the board that he will bring about the innovation the film industry lacks, and he has the perfect way to do it. Later, he tracks the Barlow sisters and visits them in their apartment. He talks to Laura and offers her and Kate the opportunity of a lifetime. He starts by saying he's still amazed by what happened during the seance. He explains that someone did appear, and that was his brother. Corbin thinks this is something unprecedented, something avant-garde, and it deserves to be documented. He wants to film the seance, with the Barlow sisters conducting it. Laura appears to be skeptical at first. She recites their long list of schedules, including shows and private seances. She reiterates to Corbin that booking them will cost a lot. Corbin readily agrees. More than the money, he promises to make them famous in a way that only the cinema can offer. And with that, Laura agrees. Corbin draws up a contract, right there and then. He even offers them to live in his house so they can be more comfortable. Laura takes up the offer, but Kate is in two minds. They have not lived with their customers before, so why are they doing this now? Laura explains to her that they need to do everything to make their lives better, and living in Corbin's mansion is certainly beneficial to them. She reminds Kate that rich people like him act on their whims. It may last days, weeks, or months, so it's better for them to enjoy it while it lasts. They can save money, and then they can finally go home to America. On the first day of filming, the sisters are treated to professional makeup services. Kate's childlike wonder appears with every powder puff she opens. She says she hasn't seen so many before, and they all smell good. Meanwhile, Laura maintains her professional posture. Her makeup perfectly reflects her serious attitude. The director, Servier, approaches them. He's surprised to find out the sisters are very beautiful. After a few touches of rouge on their faces, Laura and Kate take their seats on the seance table, surrounded by a crew of cameramen and filmmakers. A few minutes into filming, the sisters become too uncomfortable with the lighting. Kate keeps blinking and getting distracted. Laura voices this concern, but Servier says they need the lamps if they hope to film anything. Corbin, as the producer, steps in and explains the sisters' needs. Laura approaches him. She requests that she be the one to direct the seance, so she can control their performance. She speaks French and has observed how Servier does his job, but Corbin won't let her, saying she doesn't have the right credentials to be a director. Eventually, Laura returns to her seat, and they manage to finish the filming. Corbin and Servier watch their first video draft. Corbin keeps on laughing, which prompts Servier to ask what he is expecting. He has no clue what the producer wants. Servier tells Corbin they can simply recreate the details of his own seance, and then direct the sisters to act accordingly. If Corbin wants to show ghosts, then it's easy to manipulate photographs. But Corbin doesn't want that. He admits he doesn't know yet what he's trying to do, but he does know that they need direction in the film industry. Dabbling in the paranormal has a great promise to turn the tides. He points out Kate's innocent looks and says she has potential. But Servier disagrees, saying the older sister has a face full of presence and personality that is good for cinematography. At this, Corbin gets inspiration. They can hire Laura to lead a film. The story will be about a medium helping a young widower make contact with his deceased wife. It will be convenient since Laura already has the knowledge of being a medium. Servier says the script may take 5 to 6 weeks to write. Corbin says they can promote the film as something based on true people. Authenticity will surely attract a large audience. Servier thinks this is a good idea for their project. In the next scene, we see Laura attending several screen tests and script readings. She cringes as she watches several clips of her performance with Kate, who laughs and admires her. A few days later, we see a meeting between Corbin and a man named Professor Oulet. The professor has heard of the notoriety of the sisters in spiritual channeling. In his field of study, nothing will be considered weird or out of place, as long as it serves to enlighten people like him who seek the truth. He is interested in meeting the sisters, especially Kate. But he warns Corbin that this will cost more. Corbin looks back at the professor and assures him that money will never be a problem. After several weeks, the film that Corbin and Servier have discussed before is already in the middle of production. Corbin has invited some investors to the shooting location so they can see the progress of their project. He looks proud as he tells them what he intends to show in the film. Through the photography manipulations available during their time, They can produce photographs that can appear as if ghosts are captured on film. They can promote the film by using those pictures as real evidence of ghost sightings. Surely people will love this idea. They enter the set, where Laura has just finished her makeup for the scene. They are to film the scene where the widower spirals into madness as he becomes confused about his feelings between the medium, played by Laura, and his late wife, the spirit channeled by the medium. The director gives the actor, Fernand, several instructions, and then, when all is set, he starts the camera roll. Laura is a good actress, memorizing her lines quickly and reciting them according to Servier's direction. All seems well, up until the part where the actor grabs her closer. She looks at the crew since this isn't a part of the script. She sees Kate whispering with Corbin. She looks like she's sniggering. But Laura plays along, responding to the actor's lines, "When we kiss, there's 3 of us in the act." And then, he kisses her. Everyone looks silent as they watch the scene. Kate is confused about why no one is ending it. Then Servier shouts, "Break!" The kiss, which is not in the script, has left Laura reeling. Not because she likes the actor, but because she felt a sense of exploitation in the way the crew handled the filming. She opens up to Servier about feeling scared about doing future scenes. She says she starts to feel what her character feels. The emotions are heavy, and this is not what she signed up for. Servier explains that she did beautifully, and he believes she will do so until they finish the filming. Most of the time, she has to sacrifice a part of herself to portray her character. Servier tells her to lean back and let go. After this short talk, Laura eventually learns to deal with the heaviness as she continues filming. For the past few days, Laura has embraced this new direction in her life. She and Kate are still close to each other, as the younger sister doesn't seem to be envious of the older sister's fame or work. One night, Corbin throws a party in his mansion, inviting his close friends, film crew, actors and actresses, and socialites. Juncker is also there, to Laura's delight. It is a grand party, one that the sisters have not seen before. They see Corbin, who gestures to them to come to that exclusive nook where all the VIPs are seated. There, Laura sees Eva, the actress who plays the late wife in the film. She looks so stunning. Laura is enamored by her beauty. Eva talks to her, saying she's a bit envious of Laura. She remarks that Laura didn't have to have good acting skills because of her skills as a medium, while she needs to work hard. Then she says she doesn't believe in these things anyway, so her envy doesn't mean anything in the end. Then, the group's conversation turns to Professor Ula, who is also there. Corbin introduces him as a specialist in metapsychology. This introduction receives scornful laughs from the guests. Professor Ule maintains his dignity, explaining how people can live today and become the ghosts of tomorrow. He has the apparatus ready to prove his theory. The guests, mainly Eva, still mock the professor. The conversation only ends when Kate announces that it has started snowing. Everyone runs outside to marvel and have fun. Laura accidentally sees Corbin and Eva sharing a passionate kiss. A few minutes later, Corbin joins them. He lifts Kate on his shoulders like she's his daughter, and they play together like a happy family. These are fun and peaceful times. After the party, Corbin accompanies the sisters to their quarters. Laura is ready to bid him goodnight, but to her surprise, he walks into their room. He inspects the general ambiance of the room, including the windows and wallpapers. In truth, he's just mustering the courage to ask the sisters a favor. He starts by saying that meeting them has been a great blessing in his life. He feels grateful to have the opportunity to be friends with them. And now, he must take advantage of that opportunity by asking them to do a séance, right there and then. All this time, Laura has felt uneasy about the way he casually asks for a séance. She makes excuses about Kate being tired. However, it's Kate who wakes up from her sleepy trance and says she can do it. With no choice, Laura relents to host the séance. Just like the first time, Corbin is really into it, with his head tilted backward. Laura feels a bit uncomfortable as she glances at him. Then, her gaze lingers on his pants. She sees a bulge there. She gets frightened and wonders what exactly Corbin's purpose is in initiating the séance. After this, Corbin tells the sister to move to a more comfortable room in his mansion. He has also provided a French tutor so Kate can learn the language. One night, Laura dresses up and comes down to the living room to see Corbin. Seeing her, the maid tells her their master has just left. So, Laura rushes outside to follow her benefactor. She sees him entering a building located in a shady part of the city. She decides to wait for him, but when it proves futile after a few minutes, she leaves. She doesn't know that Corbin has seen her. Back in the mansion, Laura pretends nothing has happened as she eats dinner with Kate. Corbin joins them. Out of the blue, he tells the sisters that the reason he hasn't married is because there's too much work in the film industry, and when he comes home, he just wants to be left alone. He doesn't like explaining things, so he never told them. Laura takes this as an excuse to leave. She calls Kate, who is surprised at her sudden outbursts. Corbin stops Laura and pleads with her not to go. He says he genuinely needs them in his life, and he asks them to stay. Laura can see that Corbin is telling the truth, so she goes back to her seat and continues eating. One day, while taking a break from filming, Laura is surprised to see Junker in her dressing room. Her former agent informs her that he's closing his cabaret to move somewhere else, and he's inviting the sisters to come with him. However, as much as she owes it to him for their safe arrival in Paris, Laura says she and Kate are happy where they are right now. She has a movie, Kate is doing well, and life is good for them. Soon, the filming location will change to the southern region, and she's looking forward to it. The next day, just after she takes a shower, she hears unusual sounds nearby. As she walks out of the bathroom, the sounds turn out to be moans, and they seem to be coming from her and Kate's room. Fearing the worst, she enters the room. Kate and Corbin are in the middle of a seance, but from his expression, it looks like he's getting off of it. She stops the seance and calls her sister to follow her. Once they're alone, Laura asks Kate how many times they have been doing the seance without her knowledge. Kate won't answer, and there's defiance on her face when she looks at Laura. She tells her she's jealous, earning her a slap from her older sister. Corbin approaches Laura after the latter walks out of the room. He dares her to say out loud what she's thinking about him, that he knows she's thinking about something that's indecent. He tells her she doesn't understand anything. In the end, Laura goes with Servier and the film crew to travel toward the south for the filming, leaving Kate with Corbin. As it turns out, Corbin has made plans with Professor Ula to use Kate's abilities in channeling spirits, and then capture it on film. Since the professor has a dedicated team that has studied the spiritual phenomenon, Corbin is confident that they'll have concrete results. On the other hand, these sessions are not cheap. The team uses several contraptions, including a weird helmet, to capture whatever energy is spent when channeling. And they use radiation. Since Kate is the medium, she gets exposed to certain amounts of radiation. Unfortunately, during their time, they either didn't have enough knowledge about how dangerous radiation can be, or didn't care about it because of the money involved. Meanwhile, Laura is enjoying every moment spent in the Mediterranean region. She gets closer to Fernand, having overcome her initial feelings during their on-screen kiss. She also joins him for a swim during their break. It feels good to have this reprieve, to think that she's free from work and responsibilities, even for a short while. She joins the cast during their little gathering after filming. She also gets to have a one-night stand with Louis, another member of the crew. After the deed, she asks him about the rumors about Corbin that have been swirling among the crew. Throughout her time there, she has heard things about the producer that don't seem right. Even Fernand knows some things. So, Louis gets up and shows her a few indecent clips. He then reveals that Corbin used to film lewd videos, of which he participated in some. Laura becomes uncomfortable once she realizes what she's seeing. She throws Louis out of her room. Back in Paris, Corbin gives Kate another gift. Perhaps because he cares for her, or because it's his compensation for her willingness to go to those sessions. Kate asks him if he has an idea about the man he sees in the seances, because she herself can't identify the person. Apparently, during their last seance with Laura, the same man from their first session appeared, giving Corbin some erotic feelings. Corbin says he still has no idea, but he knows that he wants to have another go at it again. Kate assures him that they have time. She explains that most people think that mediums evoke the spirits of people important to them, but there are times when that's not the case. Sometimes, evoked spirits are those of people who have unfinished business with the living. After their talk, they go to Professor Uli's laboratory to have another session. At this point, it should be noted that Kate has become paler since their first session. She has also weakened, and is more withdrawn than before. In this session, Kate, Corbin, and the team have made relatively significant progress. Corbin gets a vivid dream about people and things in his life that he's buried. He stands in the middle of a wide quarry, and he's wearing a military uniform. A man appears, and this is his father. They have a cryptic conversation, but in essence, the father only wants to know if this is where Corbin wants to be. Then, Corbin looks at his side and sees explosions behind another soldier, who looks indifferent about it all. Corbin wakes up to find that Kate is on fire. The explosion in his dream is actually the apparatus malfunctioning. They immediately remove the helmet from a shaking Kate, who valiantly smiles at him despite her pallid expression. They have managed to put out the fire, and one of the assistants has also captured what they considered compelling evidence. Back in the southern regions, Laura comes into her room to find a derogatory phrase about her written on the mirror using lipstick. But what bothers her is the word Jew, definitely directed at Corbin. Considering what she has heard about him for the past few days, she realizes things are about to turn against him. For context, during their time, anti-Semitism sentiments were on the rise, preceding the eventual war that would shake the world for the second time. With rumors about Corbin's true heritage, it seems like his fall will be inevitable. She calls Kate to warn her and to tell Corbin to be careful. A few days later, Corbin and Kate visit Laura, much to the latter's relief. While the sisters are spending time together, Corbin gathers his investors, who have come with them, to show them what he's been working on all this time. It is the footage of his recent séance with Kate. He is shown to be in a deep trance, and at some point, saliva bubbles out of his mouth. And then, he points to the specific time when a strange figure appears behind him for a split second. He looks proud of his achievement. However, the investors don't feel the same. All they see is Corbin and Kate, and nothing else. Servier could have employed special effects and would have done a more convincing job. They accuse Corbin of wasting their money, knowing very well the financial straits their company is in. To make things worse, Servier resigns from being the director, leaving the film project unfinished. Corbin walks to the sisters, who, unfortunately, are not on good terms as well. Laura wants Kate to stop being a medium, since they can both survive on Laura's salary as an actress. Kate becomes defiant again, but before she can say something, she passes out. They call a doctor to check on her. Kate looks so weak and pale, it's like she's at finality's door. Laura talks to the doctor, who tells her that this could very well be a case of leukemia. Hearing their conversation, Kate gets into a fit. It takes both Laura and Corbin to calm her down. Kate settles. Curiously, it looks like she has accepted her fate. She reminds her sister to not be sad when she goes. She will pass away, not because of the seances, but because it's her time. A few days after this incident, many things happen that change Laura's life. First, Corbin gets terminated from being the CEO of the film company, on the grounds of exploiting company funds for personal interests and his questionable heritage. He gets arrested, but not before assuring Kate that everything will be all right, and that she should rest. The movie they filmed has been trashed, never to be revisited. Later we see Laura visiting Corbin in the prison. She informs him that Kate remains sick but is trying to fight back. He seems to be realizing that it's his fault. But then he asks Laura for a favor, to deliver a letter to the Minister of Justice to appeal his case. Whether Laura did this or not, the outcome remains the same. Corbin faces his crimes and gets stripped of his French nationality. We go back to the start of the movie, where Laura meets Eva again. Laura tells the actress about Corbin getting sent to a camp in the East a few months ago. She also tells Eva that Kate succumbed to her disease last winter. Eva feels for her former colleague, now that she knows the truth about her. For the sake of their acquaintanceship, Eva gives Laura Servier's number. Eva is confident that Laura can go back to acting, given her beauty and dedication. Laura remembers her happy moments with Kate and Corbin. She can't deny that meeting the man has changed their lives, but now that both of them are gone, it's time for her to move on. After much consideration, she accepts Servier's offer to play a role in his current film. Laura eventually finds her place in the French film industry.